The popular discount shopping app Temu making its second Super Bowl commercial appearance.
Anybody who's not Amazon is the short answer of who should be worried.
But now, all eyes are on Temu for a different reason. 2 class action lawsuits allege the app has an arsenal of tools to gain access to what they call literally everything on your phone.
Temu is owned by a company called PDD Holdings, which owns another e-commerce company called Pinduoduo. And recently, Pinduoduo was suspended from the Google Play Store because it was found to contain malware that allowed it to track your location, access all your files, change your settings, and even read notifications and private messages. And
Temu is not simply an online marketplace. It is a data theft business that uses the online marketplace as a means to an end.
And while Temu hasn't been found to contain the same malware yet, I think it would just be a good idea to just not use it.
It took the country by storm. Now it's everywhere. But behind those $1 earbuds and $3 dresses lies a dark story of aggressive tactics, brutal exploitation, and allegations that go far beyond scammy tactics. Forced labor camps, Chinese espionage, and economic warfare. This is the shocking truth behind the billion-dollar retail giant Temu. At first glance, Temu looked like a harmless shopping app, offering prices so low they seemed almost impossible. Americans scrolled through endless deals, wondering how it could even be real, and millions hit buy without thinking twice. But Temu's sudden dominance wasn't a lucky break. Behind the cheap prices lies a calculated story of aggressive tactics, international controversy, and allegations that stretch far beyond bargain shopping. It's a story that touches economics, politics, and global power struggles, all hidden behind a bright orange shopping cart logo. The beginning of it all? One quiet move that no one saw coming, but one that would change the e-commerce industry forever. Temu's story didn't start with a viral TikTok or investment by some American tech company. It started in an office meeting room in Shanghai, China. In September 2022, PDD Holdings, the same company behind the popular e-commerce platform Pinduoduo, launched Temu in the United States. Pinduoduo was already a household name in China, famous for its group buying deals and ultra-low prices. Now it was bringing its playbook overseas. At first, Temu flew under the radar. Most Americans hadn't even heard of it. But its strategy was patient, yet powerful. Flood the market with unbelievably cheap goods, offer free shipping, and bet that curiosity would turn into habit. And it worked. As 2022 rolled into 2023, Temu began climbing App Store charts. Every download brought a new customer into a shopping experience filled with 99-cent earrings, $5 dresses, and $7 Bluetooth speakers. But what did Temu's orders do to have people hooked? They were all delivered straight to their door. Fast processing, 0 delivery fees. The true coming out moment came during the 2023 Super Bowl. In front of over 100 million viewers, Temu's colorful ad beamed a bold promise: shop like a billionaire. In a single 30-second spot, Temu went from obscure app to a household name. Almost instantly, Temu shot to the #1 spot on app stores, overtaking Amazon and Walmart. But Temu's goal wasn't just to compete. It was looking to dominate e-commerce entirely, at any cost. Temu's strategy boiled down to one word: aggression. From day one, Temu was on a war footing, willing to lose money, a lot of it, to buy its way into American wallets. Analysts estimate Temu loses around $6 on every order placed. In any normal business, that would be a death sentence. But for Temu, backed by a $100 billion parent company, it was just part of the plan. The app priced items impossibly low, often undercutting Amazon, Walmart, Target, and every other retailer by staggering margins. These discounts weren't for the customer. They were to show the competitor apps that Temu didn't need to make money to win. They just needed to be #1.
Same price you'll get anywhere else. Temu, on the other hand, is sustained almost entirely by money from PDD Holdings, letting them undercut Amazon in nearly everything. But it won't last forever. This is a money hole. But for the foreseeable future, Temu will be much cheaper, artificially. Now, Amazon still has name brands, something that Temu doesn't really offer, but those kinds of sales make up a surprisingly small amount of Amazon's total sales. Third-party sellers who generally sell off-brand alternative goods make up 58% of all the sales on the site. Often Amazon will see a third-party product doing well and just copy it, repackage it, and just stick an Amazon Basics label on it. With Temu offering similar quality products at much cheaper prices, it's hard to see how Amazon will ever compete with this.
Need wireless earbuds? Temu sold them for $4, when Amazon listed similar models for $25. Dresses that might cost $30 at a department store went for $7. Every sale was a financial loss, but every new customer was a step closer to achieving the goal of being the best. And it wasn't just pricing. Temu gamified the shopping experience with daily bonuses, spin-to-win coupons, and viral referral campaigns. Invite a friend, get free coupons. Shop today, unlock bigger deals tomorrow. It turned shopping into a game, and Americans couldn't stop playing. For the American customer, gamification played right into their psyche. They found the mini-games enticing and couldn't wait to play for more discounts. Behind the scenes, Temu exploited a major loophole in US trade law. Packages valued under $800 could enter the country duty-free. Temu ships directly from Chinese warehouses in small parcels, sidestepping import taxes and giving it a 10 to 20% cost advantage over traditional retailers. Meanwhile, traditional retailers struggled to adapt. They had supply chains, warehouses, and payrolls. On the other hand, Temu had factories, apps, and endless subsidies. Every aspect of Temu's strategy was designed for one thing: overwhelming the competition before they even knew what hit them. But for every new customer Temu gained, darker questions started to surface. Questions about where those $3 gadgets and $5 sneakers were really coming from. It didn't take long for the cracks in Temu's strategy to show. Customers started noticing that the quality often didn't match the pictures. The electronics arrived broken. Clothes were flimsy or sized strangely. Delivery times stretched from days to weeks. Temu's unbelievable prices came with equally unbelievable risks.
No, Temu doesn't just rely on big names either. There are countless examples of small to medium influencers showing off their Temu hauls, sent to them by the company for free. With these cherry-picked products, Temu can convince people they're selling high-quality, trustworthy merchandise, blurring the line between paid product placement and reviews, muddying the water even more. It's an aggressive marketing strategy that's enabled other Chinese companies like TikTok to gain a foothold in the foreign market, but it's also a technique often used by disreputable and dishonest companies to maximize growth and accelerate the momentum.
But a decline in product quality was just the start. In early 2023, Google suspended Temu's sister app, Pinduoduo, from the Play Store. Investigators discovered hidden malware embedded in the app, which exploited Android vulnerabilities to collect sensitive user data. Temu itself wasn't named in the scandal, but it shared developers. It shared infrastructure. It was made from the same blueprint. Security experts raised alarms. If Pinduoduo's app was capable of spyware behavior, how much could consumers really trust Temu? Was it just selling cheap headphones, or was it something more dangerous? Then came deeper concerns about Temu's supply chain. Ultra-cheap products often mean ultra-low wages, and worse. Investigations into Chinese manufacturing revealed troubling ties to forced labor camps, particularly in regions like Xinjiang. Temu, by promoting a direct-from-factory model, made it even harder to trace where products originated. Lawmakers opened investigations into whether Temu was violating US laws banning goods made with forced labor. Temu denied any wrongdoing, but the reality remained. The cheaper the product, the murkier the cost behind it. The dream of shopping like a billionaire was starting to look more like a nightmare. And at the center of it all stood a founder, whose own story is just as eye-raising as Temu's business model. The man behind Temu's parent company isn't a flashy tech mogul or a figure connected to the Chinese Communist Party. He's Colin Huang, a former Google engineer turned e-commerce billionaire. In just 5 years, Huang took Pinduoduo from a scrappy startup to one of China's biggest online marketplaces, overtaking giants like Alibaba in user growth. By the age of 40, he had become one of China's richest men. Then, suddenly, he walked away. In early 2021, following public outrage over employee deaths tied to brutal work schedules at Pinduoduo, Huang resigned as chairman without warning. He said he wanted to pursue research. However, rumors have surfaced that he was escaping the growing scrutiny from the Chinese government, which had begun cracking down on tech giants. Since stepping down, Huang has kept a low profile, rarely giving interviews or making public appearances. Meanwhile, PDD Holdings made another quiet move, relocating its headquarters to Ireland in 2023. Some in China called it a betrayal. Others saw it as a smart move to distance itself from Beijing's tightening grip. But none of that slowed Temu's expansion. If anything, it accelerated it. Temu's leaders knew that to win in America, they had to distance themselves from China's political baggage, while still drawing on Chinese factories and labor to fuel their operations. The result is a company caught between two worlds, aggressively American in its marketing, but deeply Chinese in its DNA. But even if Temu was physically out of China, it remained a vessel of China's broader ambitions. Temu's rise didn't just disrupt a few brands. It ignited a new front in an ongoing retail war. One that's less about storefronts and more about geopolitical influence. Temu's popularity meant a stronger China. And that came at a time when America's economy was at its worst. On one side stand the American giants. Amazon, Walmart, Target. Retailers that have dominated the US economy for decades. On the other side, a new wave of Chinese platforms led by Temu and Shein. Leaner, faster, and willing to play by an entirely different rulebook. Temu's strategy isn't just selling cheap goods, it's buying customer loyalty at any cost, and by extension, furthering China's economic hegemony. By flooding the market with discounts and free shipping, Temu is training American consumers to expect rock-bottom prices and making it almost impossible for traditional retailers to compete without slashing their margins to the bone. The ripple effects are already being felt. American manufacturers are losing ground. Small businesses are struggling to match prices that don't even cover the cost of materials. Every Temu order that lands on an American doorstep represents another lost sale for local stores trying to stay afloat. So Temu isn't another shopping app. It is part of a much bigger game meant to weaken American e-commerce and favor China. But before Temu, another company tried a similar strategy, and what happened to them might be a glimpse into Temu's own future. If Temu feels familiar, it's because we've seen the same playbook used before.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
In the mid-2010s, another platform took America by storm with shockingly cheap products shipped straight from China. Wish.com. Wish was everywhere. Endless Facebook ads, bizarre listings, $2 watches, $5 sneakers. For a time, it seemed unstoppable. In 2020, Wish even went public with a valuation of $14 billion. But then, just as fast as it rose, it collapsed. The cracks appeared early. Wish's products often arrived broken, late, or didn't match their descriptions at all. As consumer complaints piled up, trust evaporated. Shoppers realized that while they saved a few dollars up front, they paid the price in frustration and disappointment. Governments started taking action. In 2021, France ordered search engines and app stores to delist Wish over serious product safety violations. Inspectors had found dangerous goods, toxic materials, and widespread non-compliance with European safety laws. Wish's stock plummeted by over 90%. Users fled. The brand had sought to dominate e-commerce with a flood of cheap goods. Instead, it became a punchline. Temu has a front-row seat to this cautionary tale, and so far, it's trying to avoid the same fate. Unlike Wish, Temu has far deeper pockets, thanks to PDD Holdings, and far more aggressive tactics around customer engagement. Games, referral bonuses, and loyalty incentives were all designed to make users stick to Temu, even when things go wrong. But the risk remains. Product quality issues are already surfacing. Delivery times can still stretch into weeks, and regulators, already having dealt with Wish, are far less likely to give Temu a second chance if major violations occur. Temu may have learned from Wish's mistakes, but if it doesn't move fast to build trust, it could still end up the same way. A brief, brilliant flameout that consumers abandon once the novelty wears off. However, there is another reason why Americans might get put off from Temu, a growing awareness that they might be funding their own decline. Temu's aggressive expansion is less a retail phenomenon and more a slow but steady shift in the balance of economic power. Every dollar spent on Temu is a dollar not spent at a local business. Every cheap package that lands on an American doorstep is another reminder that traditional supply chains, the ones that built American prosperity for decades, are being replaced by faster and cheaper foreign alternatives. It's easy to dismiss this as simple market competition. After all, consumers want the best deal, right? But zoom out, and the picture gets darker. Temu's success represents a new kind of economic dependence, one where core parts of daily life, from clothing to electronics, are increasingly tied to supply chains controlled overseas. In a future crisis, that dependence could become leverage. And then there's the personal risk. Temu isn't just shipping products, it's collecting data. Shopping habits, locations, and device information are all flowing through an app built by a company with deep roots in a country whose relationship with the US grows more complicated by the day. Security experts worry that apps like Temu could be repurposed in ways that go far beyond retail. Surveillance, influence campaigns, even backdoor access to consumer devices. And it's not just about commerce. Behind every Temu shipment is a subtle shift of influence, a growing dependence on Chinese supply chains that bypass traditional American trade routes entirely. The US government has noticed. Lawmakers have compared Temu's rise to the spread of TikTok, warning that economic security is just as important as cybersecurity. Right now, there's no proof Temu is doing any of that, but the potential exists. And in cybersecurity, potential risk is often treated as reality. This isn't just about cheap earbuds anymore. It's about who controls the infrastructure of daily life, and whether that control can be used as a weapon. So the question isn't just how Temu grew popular, it's what happens next, and whether anyone can stop it. Temu's story is still unfolding, but the next chapters are already starting to take shape. In Washington, lawmakers are pushing to close the trade loopholes that Temu exploits, like the $800 duty-free rule. New rules and tariffs imposed on China by the US could make it more complicated and more expensive for Temu to flood the market with duty-free packages. If that happens, the prices Temu is famous for could start creeping upward.
This 3-pack of men's athletic shorts went from $23 to $56 after retailer Temu added a more than $32 import charge into the shopping cart.
My $18 free shipping Temu order that I tried to place last night had a $27 import charge.
Over at Shein, prices rising too.
Has anyone looked at their Shein cart this morning?
Both posting nearly identical notices to customers, blaming, quote, recent changes in global trade rules and tariffs. After the Trump administration closed a loophole that allowed duty-free shipment of low-cost Chinese goods directly to U.S. households, they'll now carry a 120% tariff or $100 shipping fee, rising to $200 in June. These products, so cheap even with these higher costs, many of them are still less expensive than U.S.-made goods. It's an early look at how the U.S.-China trade war will bring border taxes to Americans' bottom lines. President Trump says the two sides are negotiating, and the Treasury Secretary today said the next move is China's.
There's also growing pressure for more scrutiny of Temu's data practices. It's not hard to imagine a future where Temu faces the same kinds of hearings, bans, or fines that TikTok has endured. In fact, some lawmakers are already calling for exactly that. Then there's the competitive landscape. Temu isn't operating in a vacuum. Rivals like Shein are fighting back. They're also making adjustments in their business model to boost popularity and become relevant again. Amazon is quietly adjusting strategies to hold on to budget-conscious shoppers. Walmart is expanding its marketplace to offer cheaper alternatives. Recently, Amazon has decided to confront tariffs head-on by visually including the tariff price on items, a move that was met with a fierce accusation.
Hi, Mr. Secretary. So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Temu will have to evolve. It can't lose $6 per order forever. Sooner or later, it will need to either raise prices, find new revenue streams, or pivot to higher margin goods. One possibility is premium features, such as faster shipping, better quality goods, and paid loyalty programs. Another is advertising, selling space inside the app to brands eager to reach millions of daily users. But the tightrope Temu walks is thin. Raise prices too soon, and shoppers will flee to the next cheap alternative. Cut back on promotions, and the viral growth engine stalls. And hanging over everything is the biggest wildcard: geopolitics. If tensions between the US and China continue to escalate, Temu could find itself caught in the crossfire. A sudden government crackdown, a change in import laws, or a wave of anti-China sentiment could hit Temu harder than any retail competitor ever could. For now, Temu's trajectory is steeply upward. PDD Holdings reportedly expects Temu to more than double its sales in the coming year. The company is pouring billions into marketing, infrastructure, and expansion. But momentum isn't the same as invincibility. And Temu's next moves will decide whether it becomes a permanent fixture of American shopping or just a flash in the pan. And how its story plays out might just be an indicator of where the world order is heading. Temu is a warning. Behind every cheap deal, someone somewhere, is paying a different kind of price. Whether it's a struggling local business, a vulnerable worker, or even the consumer themselves through lost privacy and hidden risks. The rise of Temu shows how fast the world is changing and how easily convenience can overshadow caution. The question we're left with isn't just about where we shop. It's about what we value and whether we're ready for the true cost of the new retail world Temu is helping to create. What do you think about Temu and its influence on e-commerce? Subscribe for more in-depth exposés on tech giants and social media apps around you.